writing versus talking. I think you really need to talk in order to be able to be socially kind of able. But writing is kind of like talking, but you can be more precise. You can also reiterate without spending hours in video editing. You can refine. You can also read through something, and also as a consumer, you can read through something and mark different parts. This all is not so much available in video. So I've quite struggled with whether, if I have a given idea, should I write it or should I talk about it? Talking about it in the format I chose, which is just me talking in front of a camera, is very easy. And because I don't edit these videos, I already have the finished product after I hit stop. But then all the benefits from writing. So what I currently have landed on is that I tweet and I write threads as writing, and I also read these with screen recordings. And the other part of the strategy is that I also talk in front of the camera. But actually I'm still kind of battling mentally in between those two, and this still prevents a lot of ideas from actually being implemented. Of course, there are many scenarios where you cannot just record in front of a camera. And for all of these scenarios, I think it makes sense to just write the ideas. So if this is all of your day, from left to right, then there is time. And if you have an idea in this time, then you just write it down. As you write it down, you could already write the tweet, or you prepare the tweet in a task manager, for example, or in a notes app. But then, as maybe 20 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, maybe it's an hour every single day, the speaking hour, the recording hour appears. What you then could potentially do, and this is what I have been doing kind of in the last years, even though not that consistent, is that I just record what's on my mind. This allows me to kind of rapidly go through all of these different ideas without having to switch to different channels, because I also have this concept that I just record very lean video. So basically, what would be the minimum viable product that I then can only improve with being better at communicating, aka better at speaking in front of a camera. And by constraining it like this, I create an incentive for myself to actually become better at speaking. So during this recording time, I just then record in front of a camera. And if the recording time is again finished, and I'm, for example, going somewhere else, then I again can write. I can capture the ideas in a task manager. I can capture the ideas directly on Twitter, but usually I only write when I have access to my full setup, and then I write currently on Twitter. I used different sites in the past. I first of all had WordPress, a WordPress blog, then I switched to a WordPress site that was then self-hosted and not WordPress.com. Then I switched to Medium. Then I began to tweet, and I didn't really know how to distinguish tweeting, basically short blogging, from longer blogging. And what I actually kind of currently am going into is that I just write tweets, and if I think I need to say more, then I just write more tweets, basically a thread, which now also allows me to have one single recording session then for a given channel. So if this channel is about recording videos for the internet, then I just have one channel where I tweet. So this can be either something that is short, and in terms of video, now this translates to Reels, to YouTube Shorts, to Facebook and Instagram Reels, and also potentially to TikToks in terms of the length. So for any given of the 3 different kinds of media I create, which is texting with images, which is audio, or video. But audio I just see now as kind of the audio from the video, because I just record videos because they seem to create more traffic, and I then just sometimes convert these. So I convert the video into the audio, which does not always go well, because there sometimes is a visual element that is required in the video, which cannot just be listened to. So out of these 3 media types, as they are presented on the different kind of platforms that they are, the social media platforms, then there usually is a short and a long version. In terms of YouTube videos, it's 0 to 60 seconds, and then everything up from 60 seconds. I also decided in terms of the video to go into a similar format, similar to a tweet, where a tweet is a very short text, and then if the text is not that short, is just a little bit longer, but you also can embed pictures. A video then is basically, the short video is 0 to 60 seconds, and the long video is everything above. But the format is the same. I usually record in this format in 9 by 16, the other way around, so in portrait. What this strategy now allows me to do is that I have basically a given framework for whenever I have an idea. Outside of recording hours, it's texting. And texting or writing is just then converted into tweets. I tried also using these tweets as scripts and tried reading from these scripts and then having me basically talking head format, that's what I call this, or in-person format, and also then reading the tweets, and they actually did kind of well as I tested these. Why? I assume because they are scripted, my language and my grammar and so on is just a little bit more precise. This allows the video to be more concise, to be shorter, and therefore more kind of attention grabbing, or just more consumable, as people don't have to wait for my stumbles and errors. Now, the problem with this is that the text-based or the written format is not only text-based only, but it's usually also accompanied by something that's visual, because you can embed images, sometimes you do. And then the question arises, how do you convert this into something like this? Because the problem now is that it confuses my lean strategy. The lean strategy is just me talking in front of a camera. Sometimes I have something I draw on, but all is recorded in camera. And the same is true for recording tweets, at least also blog posts, as I did in the past. I just screen recorded basically me reading this, and I had my microphone connected also directly, just as now, to my phone, and then I just read all of it in camera. As soon as I press stop, the video is fully done. Now this format of course means that I don't create very good videos, at least in terms of production quality. So the videos only can get better if I get better. And kind of the theory is this. If you would have the most interesting person in the world, then it didn't really care if this person spoke in front of a phone or in front of a very good camera, because the focus is usually on what the person says and not so much on the production quality, even though this also contributes. Of course, production quality to a certain, up to a certain point probably acts as a constraint, because if the audio quality is just so bad, you don't want to listen to it. And also with a lavalier mic, it is already kind of in this territory, because the lavalier mic just doesn't sound very good, at least if I compare it to the other setups I use. Then this probably means you're less likely to watch the video. But as soon as you are over this constraint, then production quality might be not a bottleneck anymore or any longer. But the bottleneck, or at least the bottleneck it makes more sense to put more effort, or a marginal unit of effort into, in terms of the production in the backend, is then probably the scripting, or the idea, the concept of the video, the structure of the video, what is actually said instead of how it is said or in what quality it is said. But of course the quality again could be understood as the quality of the whole product or the video. In total now, I do have these two different formats, either text, and for this I am currently using just Twitter, tweets as short, and threads, also tweets as long form. And I am beginning now to record these as I did previously with the blog posts. One problem with the blog post was that if I wrote something, then it turned into something really big, really fast. And then I wrote for 2 hours, which in terms of time management is not that useful. If I can also in these 2 hours speak on camera for almost 2 hours, if I don't make too many pauses or look up stuff in the meanwhile, or in between rather. And the other format is these videos. Now, in the beginning, I posted these onto the same channels, but I soon realized that I think it makes sense to optimize for a single product, to optimize every single channel for a single format. This means, in this format, it's usually me in front of a camera. It's not just a screen recording with my voice, because if somebody sees one of my videos, or 2, or 10, and then he sees the next video, and he only sees the thumbnail, but he doesn't hear my voice, and he also doesn't see my face because it's a screen recording, then this might be too different of a format for the user to then recognize the format. And also the user might not want to have a very different thing. Because if you have two given interests, then the likelihood that a given target audience person is interested in both is the one interest, or the likelihood of this one interest multiplied by the other. So the more you say and the more different formats you have on one channel, the less likely it is, just mathematically speaking, that somebody will be interested in all of the content. So I figured that I needed to split the channels, and I already had like multiple channels, but I figured it just makes sense to split further. So I split them in, according to the format. The main idea that kind of helped me along this journey, and I'm still in this journey, is that I figured in terms of the experience, I just wanted somebody to go onto one channel and realize, okay, this is the format, and within 1 or 2 seconds realize, okay, this person is talking about something. And then he can swipe up or she can swipe up, and then the next video, similar to a shorts feed or on TikTok. I think, or not I think, but I kind of guessed, or I kind of took the risk of just taking this format of this video, of the vertical video, and also just the talking video. But this talking is kind of a different constraint. I just figured that in the long term, if I concentrated on just recording these videos and just uploading these videos again and again and again, and then ideally increasing my speaking ability over time, and also how interesting the things are I can actually talk about as I potentially learn more in the future, and also am better at pronouncing these, at implementing these, or transferring, converting these ideas into language and also into a video, then the quality could not really go down if I didn't go down, basically. So over time, there should be kind of an arch into higher quality, at least ideally. And so the bet I took is that the format, as it presented itself to me on TikTok, where you just have video after video after video, and I actually did this multiple times. I looked through almost all of the videos on my channel, all of the shorts on my channel, for example, in basically a 20-minute session. You just swipe and swipe and swipe. This is interesting, this is not interesting, similar to how a user would. So I just watched my own videos. Of course, I saw them before, but not in a YouTube session kind of way. And I think the same, not that I think, I just bet on it that maybe YouTube in the future would also make this autoplay kind of, or adapt this autoplay for also vertical videos. Another idea was that if I recorded vertical videos, that at any point in time I could just clip them into shorter videos and just basically record a 20-minute video and then just clip the most interesting parts and create an additional channel that then has basically copied content from one of the main channels that has the originals but in length. And so the idea now is, for a given channel, I either have a short video or a long video if it's a video channel, and this is always original content, and it's always the same content. The format does never change. There is no font on the screen, because these are all things that might change in terms of the platform I post on, in terms of the font that is used. So if in 5 years, for example, nobody uses the fonts that are in now for making things blink on the screen, then this video will look old, and I would then have to go back and re-edit all of these videos. But as long as I just record reality as it is, as at least in regards to the speaking videos, then there is not much that can change. Of course I can change, but I always kind of will look human. Of course, style of clothes might change, but I already am kind of dressed in a black way. So in total, the idea is to keep it as minimal as possible, and therefore to just try to avoid all of these variables, because these variables could become constraints. All the fonts you use could become constraints. If I use additional sound, it could become a constraint if there is a copyright issue, or if I want to transfer the video to a different platform, then I might have not the rights. So all of this is embedded in this format I call share, where I just stand in front of the camera and usually just talk. Sometimes I show things on other channels. But what this also means is that I don't have to record when I'm in the rest of my life. Because in the rest of my life, I can just capture these ideas either in photo or video, usually not in video form, as photo or as text, so as picture or as text, and I then can include the pictures in the tweets. And this also means I don't have to store gigabytes and gigabytes of footage, of video, of things, because either I record directly on the phone and also with a voiceover, or I just take a picture and I then include it in the text-based format. Of course, there might be situations where the one is better, the other is better, the overlap might be better. And again, I kind of catch myself thinking that if I just did the video similar to many other creators that have like sounds and blinking things and I don't know, then the video might do better, and it probably would. And I also tested a few things like these. But this just reduces the decision complexity. The choice architecture is then less optimal. The easier it is, the less variables there are I have to optimize for, the easier it is to record a video. The easier it is to record a video or to write a tweet, the more tweets I can write, the more ideas over the next years I can capture in video or text form, and the text form is then also converted into video, as video is probably more engaging, and also I probably want to more watch videos of these. And I think this concludes this kind of short excursion. Is this a word? I don't know. We could also call it an expedition into the current thinking of splitting my ideas into two different formats. And maybe what I also should mention is that the audio, so I did mention the text or visual based, I did also mention video based, but the in between the audio is basically a copy of every channel. And because a channel is usually either a sharing channel or a text-based channel that is then converted into video, what this also now means is that every channel has basically an audio copy. So the audio copy is currently only the long format because currently I don't think it makes sense to have like a 15-second video that is then played back in a podcast player, for example. So for this reason, it also makes sense to not include that many visual things in the videos, because then these can also act as podcasts. Because if I'm only speaking, then people can also listen to me without having a loss of understanding. So basically what I do is I convert the tweets and the Twitter threads into videos, and then these videos again, I just take the audio and this is then the podcast. I can even upload to the host I use, which is Anchor, which is now owned by Spotify. I can even upload the full videos, which are also played as videos on Spotify, but on all the other podcasting platforms, it goes out to, it then only plays back as audio. This also means all the long videos on YouTube channels are then with a time delay that is dependent on how current my distribution is, are then also as podcast to be listened to or available, which then with no additional cost apart from the distribution cost, which I could potentially outsource, but I currently have not. So these act as additional platforms at only the distribution cost, the additional distribution cost. I'm currently not using Facebook or Instagram in any kind of meaningful way because I have already so many channels. So if I would, for example, if I take out 5% of old content because I think it's bad, then I already have to track it in Notion, which is my database for all the media I create, and also then delete it on YouTube, for example, or on Twitter. But if I then have additional platforms and also podcast already, then this just multiplies in terms of how much online platforms and videos I have to manage. And since I already have like thousands, probably, I don't know, 10,000 videos recorded or 20,000 videos recorded, long or short, then this is just something I currently cannot manage. And I think I made the decision a few months back to just concentrate on YouTube and to split the channels as needed in terms of the content format and so on, but to now not concentrate on getting onto different platforms, because this is something I could potentially do in the future if this then makes sense. But currently it would increase the time. So the time allocation, if the time allocation currently is like 1-to-1, one is making content and the other one of my time is distributing the content, then by choosing additional platforms, I would skew this ratio maybe to a 6:2, so 2 recording and 6 distribution, or even 1:7. And this kind of is probably taking the fun out of it. And also this means that I'm producing less, which then in terms of the skill, and the main constraint being my speaking skill or my writing skill, is then constraining the whole progress more, I guess, compared to me doing the qualitatively worse content, because it's then less speaking time and therefore less improvement over time, and then distributing this on multiple platforms or on more platforms.